I'm just clearing my throat in preparation.
Are you a singer? Have you ever done any singing? This makes me think you might have done some singing in a movie that I'm not familiar with. Are we? Is there a singing Paul Giamatti?
Define singing for me, Steve. Define singing. I would say, well, welcome to the Chinwag, by the way. I was just clearing my throat to bring in the velvety tones that you all love so much.
The Velvet Fog,
on the Chinwag. The Velvet Fog. That's funny. I just was actually enjoying some of the Velvet Fog, Mr. Mel Torme.
Oh, man, yes, he's amazing.
Actually, he's kind of amazing, isn't he?
Yes,
the Velvet Fog. Can you imagine that's your nickname? The Velvet Fog? What an amazing
gotta bring that
nickname.
back. That's a great
We
nickname.
really do. Do you think he was
Fog.
kind of like, thanks?
I think he embraced it 100%. No, I have no idea.
He's amazing. He was just like, "Hoobity-boo-ba, boo-boop, scooby-doo-ba." He's amazing. He really is amazing. Have I done some singing? I mean, yes, I have. I've done some singing. I've never done a musical. I was never in a musical production of anything, because that would be a disaster. I sang in a movie once. I think I had to sing in a movie.
In what conditions? Just the character starts singing, so you start singing?
You surprise me, Steve, that you don't know my catalog of fine films. I'm really offended,
Was it
Steve,
Saving Private Ryan and you were singing?
Yes, that's right. I sang the Star Spangled Banner. I sang America the Beautiful, and you may have missed it.
As we're storming the beaches, okay.
That's right, as we're storming the beaches at Normandy. I sang in the Immortal Classic Duets, Steve, which is a film from, God knows, the late 90s, I think. And it's an early picture in my oeuvre. And it's about karaoke singing.
Oh, really?
It's about people.
I need to see this.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
I mean, yeah. You know what? Yes, you do, Steve. Yes, you do.
I'm totally serious. I'm into karaoke.
Are you? Are you into karaoke? Do you
I'm not good at it,
karaoke?
but in Asia, when I lived in Asia, it was a thing that
Sure.
I would get dragged along to, and it's quite a party. It can be super fun.
I don't think I've ever. I did it once, or I didn't actually participate in it. I did this movie where I had to pretend to do it, yes. And so I sing in this movie, and then I've only gone to see it once, which is kind of amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That it's like, but it was in an amazing place in Chinatown in New York.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought in Japan you might have seen some. Because you were in Japan for a while.
No, I never did it in Japan. But do you have a go-to? Isn't it a thing that you have a go-to karaoke song? Do you have one?
I don't. Last time I did it, I went and visited my friends in Cambodia, and like all the songs are Khmer songs, and I'm like, I don't know that one, I don't know that one. Then they're like, oh, well, you'll know these, and it's like the only sort of English songs they have on the machine is shit that I can't possibly sing. It's like Beyonce tunes and stuff. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Where's the fucking Sinatra tunes?
Wow. You could knock Sinatra out, though. You can hit Sinatra out.
At least I know the song.
When I was 17, one of these days, I'm going to hold you to this, and you're going to sing
Shatner
When I Was
style.
17 on the air. Oh,
Okay.
my God. Have you ever heard that? You ever heard the Shatner?
Oh, yes.
When I Was 17?
Is that Transformed Man?
Absolutely.
Is that the album Transformed Man?
I think it is. Wow, nice deep reach back. Nicely done. Transformed Man. I would love to hear you do the Sinatra sometime.
You would not.
That's amazing. You speak Khmer?
No, I mean, I know enough to just get through, like to go to, tell the driver where to go or to go to the marketplace. But my Khmer is, 20 years ago, my Khmer was much better, but I never use it. So you lose it. Same thing with my Chinese. Yeah. My Chinese is much better, but it's still like it's slipping away. Yeah, every year it goes by that I don't use it. It starts to slip away.
It's rusty. Can you read both of those languages still?
Absolutely not. No
skill go away
way.
Faster? Do you think that goes away faster than the speaking ability?
I think it's the reverse, actually, because if you can read the characters, I don't know if that seems to groove your cortex in a way that you retain. But
that's interesting because it's like the only language I took Latin forever. I don't remember any of it. But I took French.
But if you see it,
I had to
you
take
probably
French. But it's really funny that I can still actually, a pretty simple thing in French, I could still actually read. It's the vocabulary. I lack the vocabulary, but if I had to read something that's all in like the slang, I wouldn't be able to do it.
But the structure, the grammar, you remember, yeah.
Yeah, kind of. It's actually really surprising.
And when you go to Italy and and you're like a tourist, then you're going to get all that Latin on the buildings and stuff, and it's kind of fun because you can see like, okay,
it would be fun if I remembered any of it.
Oh.
It's like Latin's one you can sort of like, you can kind of pick it out, but it's surprising how little Latin I retain and how complicated actually Latin is. Like, I remember having to do in class the poetry and stuff is really difficult.
Oh, yeah,
it's
very tough.
And one of the other things is the
Cicero
word order. It's like the word order is all random. It's like, because it's all about the endings of the words.
Yeah.
You're just like, what the hell? You can't find the subject. You can't find the verb.
Can't find the verb.
I need everything to be nice and neat, like English, Steve. I need to be really nice and
neat. Like a rational language.
Yeah, like a crazy, totally. Like a really sensible language like English.
Like English.
It's just like, yeah, totally. We're back here, and before we launch into another episode containing the wonderful, witty, and wise Amy Sedaris, we have more with her.
She's
because
great.
She was such a fascinating and wonderful conversationalist. But before we get to her, a reminder to visit.
Head on down to Apple Podcasts and other places where you get your podcasts, and rank and review us and send us messages.
Please rank.
It's really fun.
Absolutely. Give us messages. It's really wonderful to hear from you. And now, without further ado, we had a really great time with Amy Sedaris. She's just an amazing person in every possible way.
Every time we zig, she zags. It's a crazy conversation.
But that's good. It keeps us on our toes here at the Chinwag. And so we have more with her, and here it is. Here we go. Buckle up, because it's more of the hilarious and brilliant Amy Sedaris. Now, you're from the South. Do you feel like a Southerner at all? And I sometimes think I notice a little bit of an accent with you.
Sometimes.
A little bit, right?
The way I say something like big old wrench, certain things will come out, but I don't know. I guess I'm glad that I grew up there in the South. I like Southern hospitality. I love the accents. I love community. I like, having neighbors and closeness, and thanks for coming. We'll see you tomorrow. See you Monday, see you Tuesday, see you Wednesday. You're just like, I like that.
There is a certain level of decorum in a lot of the South. That's true.
Is it genuine?
It's genuine.
You get that in New York? Well,
I do. I create it. I mean, I'm a good, I've got more keys in my apartment for other people's apartment. I'm always here. But I mean, I talk to all the merchants. I know their names.
Sure.
I create my own little community here.
Yeah. Well, New York has that rap for being sort of like terrible, and people are terrible. But I've always said, like, if I'm in trouble, people in New York will help me. I don't
absolutely.
Yeah, I always do. I feel like in Los Angeles, forget it. If I get knifed in Los Angeles, I'm going to die.
You get knifed in Los Angeles. Yeah. Have you lived there before?
No, I've spent long periods of time there, but I never lived there. Did you live there?
Never lived there. I don't drive either. I don't drive like a bus.
Yeah, just semi. Just you just driving the school bus. just like sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's tough out there. Do you like it out there? Do you?
Now that I have a good friend who lives there, I like it a little bit more, but I feel like it's too work-oriented. Like, I couldn't imagine being out of work and living there. It'd be really depressing.
Yeah.
But I like there's a mountain and there are beaches, but everything's slow. I'm always like, I feel like my body loses all its bones.
I know what you mean.
Like, oh my God, I'm not stimulated at all.
Yes, no, I know. And even in the times I was out there looking for work, I would have to go for an audition or something. And I can remember always getting incredibly impatient because people would kind of drift in and I'd be like, let's go. I had the real New York thing of just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, me too.
But I actually kind of like it out there. I think it's a very weird city. It's got a lot of weird corners and pockets to it that are very strange.
And people who were born and raised there, I like even New Yorkers. Like, I like that Matthew Broderick and Josh Hamilton, and people that were born and raised in New York are so different. They'd go to the film forum on a date. I think that's really cool. And
that's right. Yes, that's right. Yeah, but people born and raised in L.A. are odd. I often find them very odd.
Okay.
I find them strange. They're very kind of like, they're very placid. There's this very kind of like very kind of placid, mask-like. They're very like, it's weird. It's really interesting.
They're less neurotic. New Yorkers are all neurotic. Now, I'm from Chicago. We split the difference here between the two coasts. You guys are, what's the, somebody gets off a plane like in California and they're like, hey, welcome. You get off a plane in New York and they're like, you got your ticket? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, good. And I was like, oh, this is classic New York.
Right.
And I think Chicago is a little bit in between. Like there's some of the rush of New York. So there's less manners. But there's also some sort of like, we're from the Midwest. So we're going to be
I love Chicago. I love that it's everyone's working. Everyone's got a job. It's very blue collar. Everyone's in on the sports. Whether you like sports or not, I like that it brings people together. And the parks are beautiful and it's suspiciously clean even now. Like a lot of the old stores are still there.
Yes.
But I love the accent.
It has an older school feeling, but no, go ahead.
I remember my first, again, coming from North Carolina, my downstairs neighbor was a chain smoker. And I remember calling up one day, she tall up like this, her name was Bobby. And she goes, do I smell formaldehyde? And I'm like, formaldehyde? Why? I don't even know what that smells like. But boy, it changed my life. And then I looked over a deaf girl. And she was 5. And ever since I met her, I thought every time I do a live show, I got to have something in there for a deaf person. Visually, it's entertaining. You don't have to rely on the words to understand what's going on. So just those 2 neighbors really opened up a whole new world for me.
Yeah.
But I was more scared in Chicago than in New York. Like,
really?
Yeah, you would walk down a long street, turn a corner, and you're like, whoa, where am I?
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's intense. It's
that was
pretty
kind
intense.
of scary to me.
Yeah. But the sports thing there is a little bit harrowing for me, who's a guy who just is the most like sports phobic. I am such a wuss about sports. So I get very kind of like scared by so much like sports enthusiasm. It scares me a little bit.
I get it.
Yeah. So I kind of can't deal with it. That's in the South too. There's a lot of that too. People just are
I don't watch any sports. Do you watch any sports?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
I like going and watching hockey live because it's the whole thing is great. For some reason, I just kind of like the whole atmosphere of it. I like being inside.
Hockey's brutal. It's brutal.
Hockey is brutal. And I kind of like the speed of it. Those guys are fast and it's graceful and it's really kind of cool. So I like watching that. But other than that, I don't know the rules. Football is just impossible for me.
Oh, did you ever read that book about the hockey player? Maybe his nickname was the Refrigerator Man, maybe? It came out maybe for Ice. It came out maybe for.
The Iceman? I think
maybe
it was
called, Iceman.
I feel like I did read that book. And I feel like a long time ago. Right? It was a long time ago.
Yeah, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But
okay. No, I haven't read that.
I like reading about athletes a lot.
Really?
I really like reading.
Now why? Because
you don't like sports, but you like to read about athletes?
That makes a certain kind of sense. Why, though? Is it just
even golfers, like John Daly, I've talked about before, but he wrote a funny book about golf. The guy has no boundaries. He goes through his money, the gambler, the women, the lies. He's entangled up with crazy ladies. It's like,
the lies. The lies. The lies. Oh, John, the lies. But he's also a guy, he's on the links and he's smoking and he's drunk and he's like, he's
a really good golfer. Like,
that's great.
Really good, or that tennis player, Andre, I read in his book. I'll just read,
That's interesting. Have you ever worked with any athletes, like professionally, like as actors and stuff?
No.
Because they're amazing to work with.
What are they like?
I've actually ended up working with lots of sort of athletes and stuff. And I just did a thing with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And
really?
Wow.
Well, yeah, because I think that they have a natural, they're performers to begin with. They are performers, and it's like, so there's a natural movement to going, and they want direction and they want to engage,
like a coach.
and they're team players and stuff. Yeah, they do. They do actually. I think they really do. So every time I've worked with an athlete, they're terrific actors. And so, it's
okay.
No, every time I have. And sometimes I think, I should just reverse this and I should go into professional
Go to sports.
Yeah. I should become a pitcher, a baseball pitcher.
Do it. I'll come to that game. Steve and I will both come to that game.
Yeah,
I kind of miss the whole kind of clowny sports thing, like the Globetrotters and like
that was
stuff
awesome.
like that.
Right.
You know, they used to have those, that was like a thing in the
Yeah,
70s.
it was.
Remember those guys? They were terrific.
It's a mix of like, it's the best because it's like entertainment and humor, but also great skill, like excellence at a very high level. So it's super satisfying, like on all those levels.
All that kind of stuff.
It's great.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a rodeo? Have you ever gone to a rodeo?
I've never been to a rodeo.
The rodeo, because that just made me think of, because that still is a place where you have the clowns, and they do a lot of like amazing stuff.
You said do, and then I guess I can't. I can't say, this isn't my first rodeo. You know, I guess I can never say that.
Rodeo's amazing. I recommend it. It's actually kind of intense.
It's more violence. Yeah. More violence.
Incredible violence.
And more violence.
I guess I do like some violent things like that. I guess I kind of do like violent things like that. One thing I'm going to go all the way back to something. I'm going to do a reach back into something because I did want to ask you about this.
The Dirty Sanchez.
No, I was. Yeah, is that what that is? What is the Dirty Sanchez?
The reach around.
That's not what I thought.
Yeah, but I'm going to ask you something. Because like reach around, I feel like such an ignoramus because people are always like reach around. I'm like, what exactly does it mean? We can talk about it because I'm just like, what exactly does it mean?
I don't know exactly what a Dirty Sanchez is. I just know it has something to do with a reach around. So when you said reach,
sexual,
it's sexual.
I'm never sure. I know it's sexual. I'm just
You'll
never
have
sure
to Google it, Paul. I don't know.
Okay, all right, I'll look it up.
We'll have an animation.
I'm so interested to know what you think of Marie Kondo. What's your take on all of that kind of stuff?
Well, I read her book and I felt like everything I could relate to it, and I was like, okay, I'm good because everything around me I do like. You know, I don't like it when people give me gifts, people I don't know give me presents, and you know, I like a story behind everything, and if I have it, it means I want it. But I just got rid of like a U-Haul worth of stuff.
Really,
I took it to a charity shop, and that was really hard for me to do. I went through my storage unit, and I just got rid of lots of stuff. Some regrets. But, you know, things from like TV shows and all the money went to diabetes too. It was their charity, and I don't really have a charity. So I was like, well, I'll just do that. But some stuff I missed. But I thought her book was fantastic.
Really?
And I did get rid of it. I didn't keep her book, which is
really? You did? Did you do the whole does it give me joy thing and all that stuff? Did you do the whole
everything does. Everything around me does give me joy.
That's
that
my
I have
problem
out.
now. So I can't get rid of, I mean, I have all the, I can't,
Books are tough. I got rid of a lot of books. Yeah, books are tough. See DVDs because everyone's like, oh, you can always get that movie. No, you can't.
No.
Like I always wanted to watch that State of Grace. It was a Sean Penn movie. And I have it on DVD with Gary Oldman and Robin Wright.
I think that's State of Grace.
That's
really about the Irish mobsters.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember really liking that film, and I can't find it anywhere.
No, you can't. And it's also like, I like the object. I like the thing. I like the thing. Yeah. Do you still have a lot of DVDs and CDs?
I do. I got rid of a lot, but I saved a lot, you know, also.
I'm glad to hear that, because I still have that. I always think that something's wrong with me, that it's like
that I still have.
I don't have any vinyl now, because I don't have something to play them on.
What you can't see is Paul's bookshelf. Well, you can't tell from looking at it here, but it's not just one layer deep. There's like 2 layers. There's a whole other layer behind the first layer. Yeah. So do you have a collecting sort of impulse, Paul, or it's just books?
Oh, me? Oh, no, it's a mania. No, it's like it's a manic thing. I honestly think it's like a bibliomania, which is an actual thing. I mean, it's like it's a compulsion. I can't, and it's a collector thing, you know, and it's like, and it's also this sense of like, I genuinely have this feeling sometimes that I'm like, somebody has to have all these in one place, like when the apocalypse comes. I genuinely have this feeling of like, I need to have all these things here because somebody needs to have them. Somebody needs to have. It's really weird. Like. I don't know what that is. It's like the Twilight Zone or something. Like I'm the guy that needs to. It's like Fahrenheit 451 or whatever that Ray Bradbury thing. It's like somebody.
You're the curator.
Yeah, somebody's got to have all those books. But it's a library's a nice thing because it's like
a really nice thing.
The books kind of. there's a reason for all the stuff, and it starts to become a map of your mind, and they start to, it's like they're having a conversation on the shelves. There's like, it's great. So it's like, no, it's cuckoo. It totally
I have a lot of books downstairs, and I color coordinated them, which I don't suggest doing, because then it kind of disappeared into the wall, and then I know a book by its cover, by its color, and then now I have to go online and Google it and be like, okay, it's got a red spine. And then I go to my red section. Or I can't get rid of a pink book, because if I do, then I'll only have 4. And I realized that like healing books are all purple, when you go to a bookstore. Yeah.
It's funny that you start to notice that. And it's and it's disturbing to me because I have a history section. I'm like, those are all the Nazi books because it's all black and red.
Black, yes.
They're black and red. All of them. Okay, I don't think black and red. I got too many books about the Nazis. What the hell are those doing over there? It's like, that disturbs me. And all the books about like Russia, they're all just like red. But that would drive me crazy. I don't think, I like the jumble of it. But my problem is I will genuinely, if I want to find something, I can't. And then I start to search for it, and then it's like I can't. Then I buy it again, and then I have like 5 copies of one stupid book that I
I see you do a Philip Roth down there. You got 2 of the same book, but I do that a lot too. I have a lot of this, like 5 copies of like the same book, because I'm like, oh well, meet someone who hasn't read it, and I want to give it to them.
Or that, or I get so fetishistic about it that I'm like, ooh, this is a cooler cover for this one. So I actually get into that kind of weird nerdy thing a little bit, even though I'm not such a nerd culture guy like that. I have it about books. Have you read Philip Roth? Do you like Philip Roth?
Yeah, I like Philip Roth. When do you guys read the most, or
I find I have to read like all the time or I lose my mind. So I'm always kind of like, anytime I can take the moment to read, I read, or I'll lose my mind for some reason. I don't know what that is. So I read whenever I can.
My day job is sort of reading as a professor. So it's hard for me to read for just pleasure. Because I'm reading like with taking notes and scrolling in the sides and like, oh, this will make it a good argument, and I need to save this for a footnote. And so it's hard for me to break away that habit. But like even novels, I'm like, I need to write this down and make a connection to it. Yeah. So it's frustrating. It's like in music too. Musicians have a hard time just listening for pleasure, because they're like, oh, this is a little flat, and they should have done this harmony a little different. So that kind of sucks for me.
Well, I have the same thing. I can't watch a lot of TV and movie stuff because I just get so sucked out of watching it, because all I'm thinking about is
the acting.
Well, not just the acting. I'm thinking about that his tie isn't the same from shot to shot. Or I'm thinking
the continuity stuff.
I get so distracted by all that shit that I can't actually enjoy it.
Yeah, it's hard to watch a movie with an actor, because they'll be like, oh, look at that wig line. Oh, that lace. And you're like, I did, or they were awful. I'm like, really? I thought they were pretty good. I'm never right, Or you go see a movie and everyone's like, oh my God, that was so good. Look for next, you're going to be on the sequel. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is bad. And then I go home and I go on Rotten Tomatoes, which I've been on twice. And I'll read the review and I'm like, a half star. I'm not crazy.
I find that's really true though. Everything, I think also what ruins my pleasure is the overhyping thing a lot.
Oh my God,
I just can't. And I'm always wrong. I always have the contrary opinion. I'm like, I didn't think that was so great. Why is everybody like shitting themselves about that? Do you have fun doing The Mandalorian? Is that fun?
Yeah,
what's that like? It's fun because I said no to it at first, and then Favreau called me and said, no, you have to do it. I wrote it for you. I was like, oh, of course I'll do it. I like the play acting aspect of it. Like, I have a really uncomfortable costume, and I get to work on sand. And this, when I went into makeup, I said, just take my eyebrows off. So the prosthetics team were like, most girls come on here and want to look really pretty. They go, we really appreciate you wanting to use us. So, and I don't know what I'm saying. And then, so it's memorizing each word individually. And then I'll just, comes out of my mouth. I'm not a fool. You either love me or you hate me. And it doesn't bother me. I mean, people's like, you, Amy doesn't, but I'm like, you're Right. It's hard because I'm working with droids and pieces of tape. And I'm like,
I understand. I get it entirely. I 100% get it.
So I love it. I absolutely love it because it's a whole other world. And I like to show that my godkids can be like, my audience is 8-year-olds. I'm like, fantastic.
Yes, 100%.
So, I love it. Yeah, but
did you like
crazy.
science fiction-y stuff before that? Do you like that kind of thing?
Not really. Not really.
Yeah, I didn't figure you as a big sci-fi person, but it's like, but that's awesome.
Fairies. I'm reading a book and all of a sudden it's a fair. I'm like, oh no.
Well, what do you read? What are you drawn to when you sit down and read some
I'm pretty
fiction?
open, or sometimes I'll read a book I'll never read, like about maybe some actress just came out with a book and I don't even know who she is, just so I can just read it in one day and move on to something. Yes. But I like fiction. I like nonfiction too. I reread my brother's books a lot,
Well, those are pretty great.
Those are kind of fun because it's more about, going back and being like, oh, I remember that day, or I want to think about, dad in that way, or whatever it is.
Yeah. So is he accurate? Do you feel like he's accurate about your family, or do you feel like, well, you got that all wrong?
Yeah. No, he's accurate. Sometimes he'll change a little something if I'm like, put like Gretchen in the room where maybe Gretchen wasn't there. So, so it's up to me to remember that. But David's pretty accurate. But I mean, we all see things differently. Like the way he sees something, I'm like, oh, I didn't see it that way at all. Yeah. Or I forget he's a writer. And then I'm talking to him about, something. And then I read the story. I'm like, oh, I didn't know he was even listening to me.
I didn't know I was going to be fodder for your little book.
Yeah, but that's what writers do. When you're around a writer, you're just like, oh yeah, I forgot. And there it is.
Yeah.
Are your parents alive? Are both your parents alive? Okay,
no, both of mine. Both of mine are history.
It's funny how you divide people too, if they've experienced death or not, and they go into two different. You don't even know what it's like to lose your parents. Yeah. My mom died at 30, and my younger sister died like 8 years ago. It's hard losing somebody because you expect your parents to die, which you always say, I'm going to kill myself when they die. But a sibling dies, it's out of order. Death is a whole other. Yeah. What about you, Stephen? Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 brothers. I'm the middle child, so I have an older and a younger brother. I've lost my father, and I do think like it does change you. Everybody has grief, and everybody it sort of comes in weird waves and at strange times, and it is kind of interesting. Like when you talk to people who've lost somebody, like there's just these points of common humanity that you can connect with them on. Yeah. And it's kind of weird. But it's sort of like once you get past the pain of it, then there's something kind of that does give you some solidarity with other people. It's strange.
Yeah. I'm amazed sometimes. I mean, my dad died a long time ago. Yeah. I mean, he was only 50 years old.
How did he die? 50 years old?
50 years old. He was 50 years old.
And, he was wow.
He was 50. And so it was a long time, and I was 20. And I'm amazed that sometimes it can still hit me in ways that are, and again, talking about dreams and seeing people in dreams, like I'll see them in a dream and it's like the most like moving thing. It's
Isn't it fun when they visit you?
It is. It's fascinating. And it's fascinating because he's always young when I see him. He's not. He's always much younger. It's so strange. I'm like, now why is that? I wonder why I'm seeing him as a young man and not what he was not the age he was when he died. I don't know. It's very interesting. But I do sometimes in a terrible way. I see a lot of my friends dealing with their parents going, they're much older and going through that now. And there's a part of me that's like, I don't have to do that at least. And it's a terrible feeling to have. It's not, but I'm like, I won't experience that because my mother died ages ago too. So it's like, I won't have to go through all of that. So,
right.
But Amy, I understand your dad lived to be quite like in his 90s or something, right? That's pretty amazing. He had a good run, amazing. I guess.
Dad had a good run. He's got that, and he would be on an extension ladder with a saw cutting off a limb. God damn it. You're like, what are you doing? You're 98 years old.
Really? And he was perfect. He was sharp and with it. Wow, that's amazing. Wow.
Exercise. Yeah, Dad was a Mediterranean diet.
Yeah, right.
Sharp as a tack.
Right. Do you identify very strongly as Greek and stuff like that?
We went to church when we were younger, but the service was all in Greek, so we made up our own religion. And so, but what I got from it is a drama of crying yayas, the blood red carpet, the incense, the candles, the icons. And we went to church this past Christmas in New York City, David and I, and just to see, because it really put our church in North Carolina to shame. I mean, it's like huge church, really expensive. But I still, cook a lot of Greek food.
Really?
I love Greek holidays. I like candles all the time for people. If, I read a book on candle magic, which was kind of fascinating about candle lighting and beeswax candles and all that kind of stuff. So I am into that kind of trippy. I love the smell of beeswax.
So what does that mean? Like different things with different smells, different qualities are going to do a different thing?
Like how you light a candle. Like you never want to just blow a candle out. That's offensive. You have to smother it. Or like if it's beeswax, because bees are messengers of the god and they can carry the message quicker than any other candle. I don't know. This is crazy stuff.
No, this is great. I love shit like this.
Is that religious or is that a Greek thing or both?
It's not a religion. No, it's just like, I was telling this one lady about it. She goes, how do they spell magic? And I thought, that's such a good question. Like, are you really? It's magic, M-A-G. She's like, right.
Yeah, it has a K. It's real magic.
Yeah. So she judged me like that. And I was like, fine.
That's spell magic.
Yeah, can't be that good. I've read a book on whatever.
What a drag.
Righteous. Yeah.
Those righteous witches, like all that kind of righteous Wicca stuff.
Righteous Wicked Productions. I think that's something.
Yeah, that's just like, no, that's too bad. That ruins the whole point of that kind of stuff. Do you buy all the like astrology and stuff like that? Are you into that stuff?
Not deep into it. David makes fun of me, but I read my horoscope every day and I just something to ponder. That's all it is. I talked to a woman who talks to dead people after my sister died, and that was pretty fascinating. But
did you feel like there was actually something that was really happening?
She had my sister's voice down. She didn't have my mom's voice down.
Interesting. So she was channeling.
She was channeling.
Oh, she was literally channeling.
She really was.
Wow.
So, I mean, I got into that, but I don't know if I would do it again. It was just a little, like, and other people try to get in on the channel. Like she said, there are going to be other people. I'm like, what am I doing? I didn't record it because I didn't know how to record it. So it was just right. I just took it all in.
Did it feel like that it was real? Yeah. Did it feel like it was really happening or was it
it really did.
Were they saying things that you felt like were really...
Tiffany, sure, because when she died, I went to Boston with a friend of mine and we cleaned out her little room. And I didn't tell anybody that. And she's like, your sister's thanking you for cleaning out her room. Weird stuff. Like,
crazy.
Well, you guys aren't into it at all, right?
Oh, we just did. He's kind of more into it than I am, but we did just,
No, Steve is skeptical about it, and I'm much less skeptical about it.
What are you into about it?
What's that?
What's your sign?
I'm a Gemini. What is yours?
Oh.
Yeah.
Geminis are crazy because you're both sides.
Yeah, they are crazy.
I'm an Aries.
Oh, that's interesting.
Aries.
That's good. Yeah. I like Aries. And there's a lot of Aries in my life. My son is an Aries. My father was an Aries. My sister is an Aries. It's like, that's a fire sign and the air sign. Yeah. Those go together well. That's a nice thing. And so I'm a Gemini, which is crazy. And nobody likes them.
Exciting, crazy. Oh, no, I like Geminis.
Do you? All right, that's good. Yeah. But so I think that stuff is all, I don't know that I buy the like day-to-day horoscope thing that you're talking about.
Who writes those? It's just
I just saw a thing. Do you know that actor? Do you know Alan Cumming? Do you know that actor? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw him talking recently. I know him a little bit, but talking recently that he apparently as a kid, when he was a teenager, he got hired to write the astrology column in some little newspaper in Scotland.
Gig.
And
I want to do that.
He just made it up. He just made it up.
Yeah,
he flat out made all the shit up. He just was like, I had no idea what I was talking about. I just fucked with everybody and made it up. So that stuff I don't really buy. But the whole kind of idea that the moon has an influence on us. Why wouldn't all these other planets and stuff and all that kind of, all of it. Yeah, I find it really interesting. The same way I think the I Ching is interesting and the tarot deck and stuff like that is interesting. And and psychic stuff I totally buy. I don't know if I buy the talking to dead people one so much.
I know.
But I do buy like having a weird moment of some precognitive thing or something. I totally buy.
I had to take prednisone once I got shingles. And then my doctor, is prednisone is added?
Yeah.
And I was feeling so good. And I went and bought tarot cards. And I'm going to teach myself. And I went to my acupuncturist. He goes, Amy, I go, look what I feel fantastic. And this is what the doctor gave me. He's like, Amy, that's speed. And I was so happy on it. And I go, really? He was like, that's going to, That's going to eat you alive. And but I went to buy tarot cards thinking that's what it made me do. Like made me believe that I could learn something. And
that's very funny. Yes, that's very funny.
I saved it. I still have them. I know they're
really
old,
funny.
but
no, I tried to learn them too. And I sort of, I always have big plans to do stuff like that. And then I never actually do. That's very funny. I had to take prednisone once on a movie because I'd fucked something up and I had to, and I remember taking it and thinking, wow, I've never felt so sharp and ready for action. And I feel my best self. I'm so on top of shit right now. And then I was like, no wonder baseball players are taking this shit. Because it's not just like, you want to go fucking hit like a little ball with a bat like that. You want to hit shit hard. And
you really
feel
do.
so focused. Yeah.
So tight and on fire and anything's a possibility.
Yes. Endless possibility.
This sounds great. I need to get some of this.
I highly recommend it.
Every day's a fresh new day. Everything is just like, I really loved it. It was a big crash down when I had to stop taking it. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Well, I just want to tell the listeners, we do not condone the use of drugs in any way.
No, of course not.
That's true. You're right.
I'm looking at your little skeletons behind you, and I know that we were going to talk about the Mutter Museum. Yeah. Did you guys ever go to that in Philadelphia?
I've never been to the museum.
No. Oh, you got to go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been there, Steve?
Yeah. I wrote a book about this.
Oh,
me too.
I wrote a book about, it was called Stuffed Animals and Pickled Heads. And so I looked at all these Natural History Museum collections, and Mutter is one of the finest. Did you love it, Amy?
I loved it. I mean, they got a whole floor on criminal brains and jars with a lock on it. Like, really?
It's awesome.
I get their calendar every year.
Do you really?
Yeah. But
I have not been there, no.
You should go on a field trip.
Yeah, we should actually. That's actually a good idea. Have you ever been to the Museum of Jurassic Technology out in LA?
No, you should. Is that good?
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's similar, except a lot of it's made up. The guy invents a lot of stuff that's in it.
Okay.
But it's very much like that kind of museum with like lots of sort of freakish things like that in it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think didn't you do like a show or something on oddities? Like in my head, I have you connected to some oddities. Amy,
there was a store in the East Village. And they were on a show called Oddities, and they asked me. A friend of mine was doing it, so I went there. I would get a lot of stuff from him. Like I have a nice old statue of a stomach, the old wooden kind of. They had really good stuff. The darkest thing I've ever purchased, which was a hard thing to give away because I don't know, but it was a tiny painting of somebody who lost a baby. Maybe the baby was 2 or 3 months, I know, but it was a beautiful, nice painting. And in the back, it talked about, everything when the child was born and died. And I was drawn to it and I bought it. But when I was getting rid of stuff, I was like, I got to get rid of this. And then I took it to the diabetes, the cure thing. But and because the lady Liz who runs it was like, somebody will be drawn to it just like you are. It'll go to the right home.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah, I wonder if you're drawn to certain things at a time in your life and it matters to you, but then you also want to let it go at a certain time in your life too.
Yeah. And how you let it go. And it's go to the right person. That was my thing. Everything's got to go to the right person. But now everybody wants you to sign everything. And I'm like, I don't want to sign it.
They want you to sign it because it's your thing. That is a whole thing, by the way, that posthumous painting thing. That's like...
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. And it's really fascinating. I was actually down in Tennessee once and saw in this house, this bed and breakfast I stayed in, they had one of those posthumous paintings. And it was in a haunted... This place was supposedly very haunted. And this painting kept falling and falling. It was an extraordinary painting of this woman who died. And it was really beautiful. I always wanted to get a skull. I want a human skull. I want a real human skull. And then I'm like, really? Do I want a real human skull? And like, where does this come from?
Put it in your freezer. Yeah,
right, exactly.
But even has a skeleton, a whole skeleton.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a real
skeleton.
It's not like a...
real skeleton. Wow. He got it in London.
Really?
He liked it. And I have a nice wax, of someone's face with a herpes sore on it. Remember they would do?
Yes.
Those are really nice
with somebody's face being
death
eaten
mask.
Somebody's face
syphilis.
being eaten by syphilis. Yeah. Those are kind of amazing. Those are beautiful.
Are you trying to like purchase the Elephant Man's corpse as well?
Elephant Man's favorite movie, that and Babe. My two favorite movies. It couldn't
Those
be
are your two favorite movies,
but,
really?
Yeah, when people ask me, I'm like,
movie.
Elephant Man was a game changer for me.
So
when I saw it in 1980 at the movie theater on Halloween.
Really?
But I was like, I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
Perfect film for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And did that make you want to like be a performer kind of thing? Or were you just like, this is just a great movie?
I just like ugly.
Yeah.
I'd like to look at ugly people.
I'm totally 100% with you. I completely
But
get
I
it.
get why people want to look at pretty people. I get it,
Yes.
But I mean, recently I was in Washington Square Park and I saw a very unattractive woman. And my first thing was go up to her and strike a conversation. And she was with somebody. They weren't talking to each other, but I was like, how are they friends? It just felt so, I felt so bad for her. Really, really unattractive. That's tough. That's really tough.
No, it's fascinating.
But I wanted to be like, oh, she's got to be my best friend,
Yeah. No, I have that same fascination with the grotesque, with what it basically is grotesque. I mean, I call somebody grotesque, but it's like I have the same thing and I don't really know what it is. I don't know why I'm fascinated by that kind of thing. But there's something, I don't know.
Redheads. There aren't that many redheads. I'm drawn to redheads.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It stands out. Like you have a general category of how things should be, and then this thing it just sticks out. It's not exploitation to be interested in like different bodies.
Yeah.
It's just curiosity, but it's also like it can become exploitation.
Yeah.
So that's what, like those freak shows and circus shows, and the Elephant Man was exploited.
Yeah.
But
I know.
that's not what everybody wants.
It's extraordinary. I mean,
it's extraordinary.
It's not because beauty, I said this to you, Steve. It was beauty and things that are beautiful are ordinary, actually. They're kind of perfect. They're like, they look perfect, and it's all about kind of being the same. Like you like a beautiful thing because it's kind of the same as all the other beautiful things. You know what I mean?
Yes,
but the grotesque thing is unique. And so it's kind of more beautiful to me in a weird way. Like the weird looking thing, the crazy looking thing, the ugly looking thing is more beautiful.
Yeah, my eye goes to that.
Yeah. It's
even
like
at a flea market, they're like, how did you find those miniature? Like I went right, that's where my eye goes,
Yeah, to the bizarre thing.
And that's like the Japanese thing is interesting too, because the kintsugi thing is it's a broken bowl and then they mend it, this is like a big deal. And so they think that the broken and fixed thing is more beautiful than the perfect bowl or pottery.
Yeah.
It's totally Japanese.
Is it wabi-sabi or whatever? That
wabi-sabi, yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. You just wanted to say wabi-sabi.
No. It is. It's the idea that things are not perfect. It's like they like that. They like that. Well, I
have patches on everything downstairs. My rabbit's a chewer, and everything is patched up. Patches on my clothes. I love a patch. I just love a patch.
Do you get like colorful, crazy patches, like Yogi Bear patch, or is it like just
I have a lot of Japanese scraps fabric, a lot of indigo, but I like, gingham, and I like prints and anything. Just patch it up and then love it. I love that. I like to pat my shoulder and puff of smoke comes off. Into that stuff.
I hear you. I like that kind of thing too. All that kind of old shit.
Old shit.
And dusty shit. Wow.
Yeah.
I could keep talking to you, and I would like to actually continue to talk to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And Stephen, it was so great meeting you.
Oh, likewise, a real pleasure. Thank
really
you
so a pleasure.
much.
Very
excited
so much, to see
Amy.
your name pop up on my text. So
well,
Giamatti, what does he want? Oh my God.
Very exciting.
Canada, oh my God.
Really, yeah. Well, thank you so
Bye,
much,
you guys.
Amy.
It's a good Chinwag. Chinwag is a production of Treefort Media and Touchy Feely Films, hosted and executive produced by Paul Giamatti and Stephen Asma. Executive producers for Treefort are Kelly Garner and Lisa Ammerman. Dan Carey is executive producer for Touchy Feely. Our series producer is Rachel Whitley Bernstein. Original theme music by Luke Top, with additional music by Via Mardot. Oscar Guido is our executive in charge of production. Tom Monahan is head of audio for Treefort. Animation created by Alex Sokol. Editing and mixing by Jeff Neal. Lastly, for more information, go to chinwagpod.fm and find us on Instagram or TikTok at chinwagpod or on Twitter at chinwag_pod.